Hello, this is Brenton Burr, Clinical Coordinator with North Georgia Technical College's EMS program. This is a tutorial detailing how to document your clinical into Platinum Planner. So, we'll start with platinumplanner.com. You can log into platinumplanner.com. This is your student home screen, and you will have to select this. You should see this once you've completed a clinical or after that time has passed for a clinical. It'll automatically pop up here. You will see two opportunities are ready to be documented. So we're going to click that link or click that button, and it'll show us the clinicals that are ready to be documented. We're going to be documenting the one here on 116 at Habersham County EMS. All you have to do is select Begin Documentation. It'll take you to that clinical opportunity. This is an overview of that clinical opportunity, and we need to go to the I here for information. This is going to let you put in the preceptor. And for this one, it was Brenton Burr at Habersham County EMS. If there's two for one, make sure you select the appropriate agency that they're at. If they are not in there, you can select New here and type in their information and submit it that way. All right, just make sure you get everything in here correctly. And that means when you put it correctly, that's capitalized first name and last name, because this is how it's going to show up in Platinum Planner. It needs to be in there correct. All right, make sure that our times are correct, so our actual shift start and actual shift end. So if you stayed later or anything like that, you can document there, what time you actually left and the time you started. Total patient time and physician time don't really apply. So once we get the preceptor in, we'll hit save, and your information has been saved, and that means your preceptor has been saved to this clinical and your times are saved. Now we'll go to the patients. I'll have to select all of our patients. This is the Platinum Planner is the program that the instructors will be using to pull a report, and you should be able to pull your own report from here to see how many contacts, how many skills, how many hours that you've completed. And by skills meaning different types of patients for the EMT level that we're going over here. So we added need to add the first patient. Here, that one's already kind of halfway in there, so it's playing earlier, but we'll delete that one. We'll add from here, just hit add. All right, so the time here, we can document the time on our PCR. So we'll pull that one. We're going to do the first patient. It's going to be this one. Our contact at this patient, add patient is 9:15, so we'll put that in there. That's fine. These don't have to be exact, but close. All right, so we put the time in there. The gender is going to be male. Make sure you have your clinical paperwork with you because you need to look at it. So, sorry, there you go. So this first patient, I can just pull everything else off of this tab. 58-year-old male. So under age, 5'8". Always going to be a live patient for clinical. So make sure you select live. Complaint. If you put anything else, you won't get credit. It won't populate correctly. So make sure you select live. And under chief complaint, we can roll down to chest pain. Done. Now the first skill that you need to add, so this is where it gets important, now we get everything in correctly. 58, the age here, it will automatically populate the first skill. So this is an assessment of an adult. It's very important that we keep track of the types of patients based off complaint pathologies and their age. So pediatric patients, geriatric patients, all those things. But it'll populate the first one off of age. The other ones you'll have to put in and find. So this patient was complaining of chest pain. So assessment plan treatments of chest pain patient. And we'll hit successful. If you don't put successful, it will not be counted. So if you did a successful skill, you're going to want credit for it. All right, so also with that, and I'm taking these basically from the PCR that we did. So if you look here, assessment of complaint, patient complaint of chest pain. And under pathology, we've used cardiac and medical. So I want to make sure all of that goes into here, as well as the age assessment. So we've done the assessment of adult, so the age assessment's done. Chief complaint, this was a cardiac patient. And where did it go? What am I doing? Oh, there it is. Medical patient. So that matched all four of the check boxes that we've selected over here, or all three, and the other one would have been the age. So 4 here, and I have 4 there. And those all match up. I am good. I can save these for our first patient. Now I have to add our second patient. Our second patient is a 17-year-old female. And she complained she had a syncopal episode. You can start typing these in, but syncope isn't in here. Fainting isn't in here. So if they're not in there for their chief complaint, what we can do is just use a sick person or other. There's some others as well. So if you have an unconscious person or altered mental status, you can select those there. But a one that just doesn't fit, all you have to do is hit the sick person or other will be fine, as long as this stuff is correct down here. And then our time of contact that we can put at the top, we'll use the add patient time at 12:36. This will keep track of when we saw them in Platinum Planner. That'll make it easier to match them up. All right, so assessment of adolescence is already populated based off the age. We just said successful. Now, if we go back up to the front of our clinical shift evaluation form, let's take a look at everything else we need to select. So she had a syncopal episode and dizziness, so we'll make sure they include assessment of those types of patients. And this was pathology would have been medical and possibly neurological, so we're going to include those as well. So the assessment of adolescence, done. Syncope, make sure we hit successful. Oh, no, there it is, medical. And she also had dizziness, so we'll include that. And then neuro, assessment of neuro patient. Done. So we have adolescent, syncope, medical, dizziness, and neuro, and that matches all 4 of the things that we've selected here, plus the age here, so 5 things. And that sounds correct, looks good. Once we're sure that these are correct, and it's very important to have all of these correct. If they are not correct, you will not get credit for them. We'll hit save. All right, done. So our 2 patients are uploaded. I only had the 2 patients for that day. Forms is the clinical site and preceptor evaluation. You have not filled this out. I'm not going to fill this out for you. It's pretty obvious. But we need to get feedback from the clinical sites and your preceptors, or about your clinical sites and preceptors. So if you would take the time and go through and complete this, put us any information here. We're trying to make sure that we get that our students here a good clinical experience. So any feedback from our clinical sites or the preceptors within them on these people are doing good, this clinical site is amazing, or not, we need to know about it. We'd love to know about it. So you can fill that out and select save. Under documents, this is where that we are going to document, and you could ignore this, we're going to document your clinical, you're going to upload your clinical paperwork to. So we can go to your documents, drag and drop files, or click to select, and we are going to go desktop, and I have it saved somewhere right here, EMT Clinical Example 1. So choose, and it is uploaded. So really, really important that when we scanned those documents, I detailed or talked a little bit about that in the last video. When we put those in, it's in one file. So the file that you saw with all the clinical paperwork over here is the same one that we just uploaded. And it is all in one big file. All right, so one page, right? So one big file there, not one page, one big file, so that it all goes in here as one file. We cannot have 10 or 15 going down here. It just isn't going to work with Platinum Planner. So just include one. If for some reason you had a lot of patient contacts a day or a lot of paperwork that you needed to submit, so when we get to the advanced EMT portion, you will have more paperwork to submit because you'll be doing more skills. You may have to break these into 2 files and do one half of the paperwork in one PDF and the other half in the other, and that's acceptable, but one file ideally. All right, so once the paperwork is uploaded, we can double check to make sure everything's in there and hit submit. Any message or any comment you want to put there, go for it. The preceptor signature confirming presence is not necessary. They've signed all your paperwork, and you should be doing these at home anyway. If you're using the application on your phone to upload these, it's very similar to this process, but the preceptor can actually sign your phone. But again, it's not necessary because they've signed all of your clinical paperwork. So once we got all that stuff in there, we just hit submit documentation. And we're done. That one disappeared, and it's been submitted. You can see it here, listed as submitted. Once it is approved, you'll see it listed here. It needs to be approved by an instructor. So once it's approved, it'll pop up there. Sometimes, if the information in them is not correct, they'll be returned to you here. And when you pull them up, when you open them up, there will be a comment detailing what's wrong so that you can just correct it and then, again, return it. All right? So any questions, please email me, bbirr at northgatech.edu. And again, this is Brenton Burr, Clinical Coordinator with North Georgia Tech. Thank you very much for your time.